When I began playing Nier Reincarnation, I kind of set companions aside as a nice little bonus that wasn't really necessary and that would not be very impactful in my fights, and I was completely wrong. These little pets are insanely powerful, and they are actually carry my team through most content right now, so it's really important to use them and use the right one. So today that's what we'll do. We'll take a look at the several companions that are currently available in game, what are their abilities, which ones you should bring depending on the mission, and then we'll take a look at how to level those companions if you haven't done that yet. So let's begin. So the first thing when I'm looking at pets is they all have different stats, but the difference isn't that big. Like bears all have around 1000 attack and 800 defense. The spirits have a little bit opposite. They have 1000 defense, 800 attack. The books are a little bit middling. They're gonna have like 9 and 8, so roughly in the middle. These spirits here have super high defense and really bad attack. Then the dragons have the opposite, super high attack and really low defense. And the robots are in the middle. Now, the stats are something, but these differences are not that huge. I think the main reason you'll want to bring a companion in are not the stats, but rather the abilities they bring. So let's start looking at those abilities. Every pet brings a passive and an active ability. The active ability will be what your unit uses, and then the passive is something that all your guys are going to have for the entire fight because you brought that pet into the fight. Something that's interesting to note is if you set your run on auto, the AI will use your companion on the left slot, then the middle slot, then the right slot. So if you want them to be activated in a specific order, you can set them in a specific order on your team, and that's what the AI will do. If you're playing manually, of course, that does not really matter. There are two types of passives right now in the game. They either support your damage of a specific element or reduce incoming damage of a specific element. The bear all increase damage, the puppets all decrease damage you're going to take from a specific element, and then the other ones are a little bit half and half. And then the value of these passives are actually different. So the bears and the dolls have only a 16%, which is not the highest we'll see. If you're looking at books, their value is actually 20% for their passives. So I think there's a little bit of a quality rating, and some pets are going to be stronger than others overall. For example, the fire book increases fire damage by 20%, while the ice book decreases incoming ice damage by 20%. So they have higher values overall than these other ones here. This spirit decreases light damage by 14. The dragons increase their related elements damage by 14 as well. And then the pods are also higher quality. The fire one decreases incoming fire damage by 18%, while the ice one increases ice damage dealt by 18%. So you have to look at them. I would say overall, right now, we don't really need to shut down incoming damage all that much, because the higher difficulties that we have access to right now are mainly a damage check, so you want to favorize those with passives that increase your damage of the elemental type of the weapons you're using, because that will help you one-shot the boss before the boss retaliates. I think some active abilities are so strong that you should use these pets no matter what if you're playing alongside that strategy, and over the right passives for the right element. The first one of these abilities that are really strong is this fire book here. What he does is he deals serious damage. 340 mod is more than most other pets, but he also increases all allies' critical hit rate by 30% at max for 60 seconds. Now, if you don't have him leveled and you've only given him, say, a couple levels, you're still going to increase the crit rate by a minimum of 16%, which is really good. So what happens in a lot of hard bosses is you wait until the very end, and then you just try to burst the boss before he retaliates, because they have thresholds at several HP levels where they're going to counter with a very powerful attack. But if you burst them down in one go, they're never going to retaliate. So for that strategy, what I do is I start by evoking this pet, increasing everybody's crit rate in my team, and then I just use every single ability I have access to and burst the boss in one shot. And the extra crit rate is super critical for somebody like A2 or 2P that relies on crit to deal their damage. So this is a pet I bring no matter what. Then there are a couple others that are really good. There are pets that heal, so that's pretty relevant if you don't have a healer in your team. So for example, this one recovers 15% of HP for all allies. And then there's also the Light Spirit that does the same thing. So you have a couple options in terms of healing, but also there are some pets that blind enemies. And as you've probably experienced, blind is super impactful. It basically makes it so that sometimes the enemy just doesn't do damage when they hit you, which is very, very strong. So this bear has a darkness effect with a 50% chance to blind the enemy for 2 turns. So if you know you can't burst the enemy in 1 hit, you can use that, and then you have a chance that in their retaliation they just don't hit you. Same thing for this little spirit here, which also has a chance to blind, so that is very important. For the other pets, I usually bring the one that I feel has the right element and the right passive, because that seems more important than anything else, but we can still look at some other active abilities that I think are fairly good. So this one bear here ignores defense with his attack. The bears are not going to be your carries, so I don't think this is super good. But if we look at the other ones, the bears all have a different debuff. So this one is going to debuff incoming damage by reducing the enemy's attack for 60 seconds. That's fairly good. This one, Green Bear, is going to reduce the enemy's defense by 25, so you can leverage that. Again, I don't think it's as impactful as increasing your own crit rate or blinding an enemy or perhaps healing, but it's still not a bad thing to do in the overall mission. And then these guys, the spirits, will instead give you buffs. So instead of debuffing the enemy, they increase your own team stats. This one increases your attack. The second one, the water one, increases your defense by 15%. The third one increases your agility by 15%, and etc. So overall, my usual team comp is bringing the book for the extra crit rate when I try to burst the boss, and then 2 pets that have damage support for the right element. And with that, I feel like I have the best chance of one-shotting the enemy before he retaliates. When we get to missions that are too hard to one-shot, that's where I'm going to bring the blind ability, so I'm going to try to burst them down, but if I can't make that happen, I'm going to blind the boss and hope he misses me. I feel like that brings me more survivability overall than just bringing a damage shutdown pet that's going to decrease the incoming damage. So you've taken a look at your available companions, you know which one you want to level. Now, how do you level them? Well, every single type of companion has a type of food that levels them. Bears have these fishes, these have meat, these have, I don't know what these knives are, books have ink, and etc. And then there are 2 ways right now to get those materials. The first one, and the easy one, is the Nier Automata exchange shop. Now, I've already bought those, but if you haven't yet, you can go ahead in the Automata metal shop. And then I'm going to scroll down to try to show you guys these things. Let's see where they are. There we go. So see, low quality ink and etc. You can buy a bunch of those and then get the first couple levels on your pets through this. Then it gets a little bit more complicated. The materials to level pets are dropped as story mission rewards and also story summon rewards. So when you clear a chapter, you're going to gain some summon tickets, and as you can tell here, these are materials to level pets. You can look at some chapters, they all have different drops. So if I wanted to level my red book that I think is super strong, I would do this chapter here, Grains of Sand, probably in very hard difficulty to get more tickets, and then I would summon until I get a lot of them, and I can give my pet a couple extra levels. The pets' abilities level alongside the pets, so you don't need to level the abilities individually. As the pet gains more level, their abilities will naturally get stronger, and then you'll eventually have the strongest pets possible. Finally, you may be looking at my pet pool and wondering, how do you get those pets? Well, these pets are first time drop rewards for a lot of missions, all the way up to very hard, so as you clear missions you'll acquire new pets. For example, the ice mission number 5 dropped the water robot. It's a little bit hard to see right there, but that was the first time drop. So as you play the game, you'll end up getting more pets by going through the story. So that was it. Hopefully you found it interesting and learned a thing or two. If you have any questions about the stuff that I haven't covered regarding companions, please let me know and I'll be sure to answer you in the comments. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.